Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Jay Cohn. 3 days after 58 people were killed in the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history, the motive behind the attack remains a mystery.
Tonight, police revealed there was evidence found in the gunman's room that shows he intended to survive or escape.
CBS News correspondent Kenneth Craig is in Las Vegas tonight to bring us the latest.
Investigators still don't know why Stephen Paddock opened fire on those attending a country music festival in Las Vegas. On Wednesday, the FBI interviewed his girlfriend, Mary Lou Danley. In a statement read by her lawyer, Danley said she knew nothing.
He never said anything to me or took any action that I was aware of that I understood in any way to be a warning that something horrible like this was going to happen.
Danley, who police are calling a person of interest, was in the Philippines when the attack happened Sunday night. She says Paddock sent her there a couple of weeks ago and wired her money to buy a house. Danley thought he was planning a breakup, not a massacre.
It never occurred to me in any way whatsoever that he was planning violence against anyone.
On Wednesday, President Trump visited the grieving city.
America is truly a nation in mourning.
The president met with survivors of the shooting and with first responders.
In the meantime, authorities here are still combing the crime scene for evidence, which stretches for hundreds of yards and across several major roadways.
Investigators found 23 firearms inside the gunman's room at the Mandalay Bay Hotel.
Stephen Paddock is a man who spent decades acquiring weapons and ammo and living a secret life.
Police say Paddock owned 47 guns and had bought 33 of them in just the last year, including one just 3 days before the shooting. Kenneth Craig, CBS News, Las Vegas.
Now, the ATF does not get notified about the purchase of multiple guns unless they're bought at the same time.
Police have now revised their injury count to under 500. 150 people remain hospitalized.
A Bozeman woman who luckily survived the attack is now home from Las Vegas.
Jolene Barca says she's alive thanks to advice from her husband, who is a trooper with the Montana Highway Patrol.
You have to slow down. You have to, just breathe. And he's like, where's your phone at? And I was like, it's at 44%. And he's like, turn off your Wi-Fi, turn off your Bluetooth. He goes, stay off your phone. Just text me if you need to. So I just laid there in the back of this truck.
Truly another amazing story. A former colleague of ours here at Q2 lost 2 of his friends in the Las Vegas shooting.
Former weekend sports anchor Rini, who now hosts a daytime talk show in Chicago, woke Monday morning to learn his longtime friend, Hannah, a mother of 3, was killed, as well as his former brother-in-law, Chris, who served in Afghanistan. Ryan says Chris was proud to serve his country and proud to protect Americans.
Shemer spoke with CNN's Don Lemon last night, calling for change. He said his former brother-in-law signed up to face those firefights, unlike the unsuspecting civilians in Las Vegas.
When 9/11 happened, we changed the way that we travel in this country forever to prevent it from ever happening again. Yet this continues to happen, and we do nothing. I mean, this is happening in schools, high schools. I played college football at the University of Colorado when Columbine happened, and we wore the Columbine flower on our uniform for the entire year. That was 18 years ago, and here we are again. I mean, when does it stop? When can we find some common ground and common sense in this country? It's not about the Second Amendment. I'm not a gun owner, but I'm not against people owning guns. I'm against people owning military assault rifles that nobody needs to protect their family or to hunt with.
Ryan, who was a Q2 sportscaster for 2 years in the early 2000s, is now co-host of Windy City Live in Chicago.
A suspect is in custody tonight after allegedly vandalizing a water treatment plant in Crow Agency.
The damage forced the community to issue a warning today not to drink or even touch the water. Q2's David J. has been looking into the story and joins us now with more from the tribe tonight. David?
Jay, Jeanelle, the concern tonight is how much chlorine is in the water after the vandal damaged canister sometime between midnight and 8 this morning. It's possible the treatment plant and the Little Bighorn River might also be contaminated. The warning from the tribe and the BIA is for the tap water and for river water. Residents are advised not to drink the water or have any skin contact with the water and should only use bottled water until further notice. Officials also say not to boil the water. Tribal spokesman says a recent government shutdown and work furloughs may be why the suspect allegedly committed the crime.
I don't think that it should have resulted in what might actually be considered an act of terrorism. It was a criminal act, and an individual had gone into the treatment facility and damaged the area and also compromised the water. It hasn't been determined whether or not the chlorine has been poured into the tanks that are at the water treatment plant or into the river.
And Jared Stewart says it may be 24 to 48 hours before the tests come back from Helena. He also said because of the damage, drinking water will not be back online until the equipment is repaired or replaced. Jeanelle?
All right, thanks, David.
In north central Montana, officials with the Chippewa Cree tribe are helping residents dig out after more than 2 feet of snow fell on the Rocky Boy Reservation.
Today, the Montana Highway Department was able to bring in some additional heavy equipment to begin clearing the roadways there. Look at all the snow. Now, the top priority is getting to those who have medical needs so they're able to get to their doctor appointments and to ensure that they also have access to their medications.
Northwestern Energy spokesman Butch Larkham tells us as many as 1,250 residents in the Harlem, Fort Belknap, and Malta areas are still without power tonight.
Larkham says some of the rural residents could be without power through this weekend, depending on how soon crews can get to that area. Northwestern lost 350 power poles in the storm, poles that snapped due to the weight of the wet snow.
Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke is now under 2 investigations by federal watchdogs. The latest probe stems from questions concerning a $12,000 private flight that Zinke took from Vegas to Montana. The Interior Department's Inspector General is now looking at Zinke's meeting with the Vegas Golden Knights hockey team. Democratic House members say it appears as though Secretary Zinke and his staff could have taken a commercial flight from Las Vegas to Montana if he did not meet with the hockey team. The NHL team is owned by Bill Foley, a billionaire businessman. FEC filings show Foley was a major donor to Zinke's first congressional campaign. Foley is also the board chairman of the Fidelity National Financial. It donated more than $150,000 to Zinke between 2013 and 2018.
Laurel police and school officials are investigating an incident where a child brought a gun on school grounds this week. In a letter sent out to parents today, Laurel Superintendent Linda Filppula explains that the child had the gun on and off Laurel Middle School property Tuesday afternoon. No students were injured in the incident, but the investigation is ongoing. Filppula's email did not indicate whether the child was a Laurel Middle School student. In that email, Filppula says is to provide accurate information about the incident. The superintendent points out that the safety of students is of the utmost importance, and she wants to make everyone aware of the severity of the situation. She's also asking parents for patience as this investigation unfolds.
The warden at the Montana Women's Prison will retire Friday after 4 years in the position.
Citing the recent death of her husband, Warden Joan Daly Shemer says she wants to spend more time with family and to explore new directions. Warden Daly took the job in 2013. She replaced former Warden Joe Acton in the midst of a personnel controversy. Daly says the loss of her husband has compelled her to find a new mission in life.
The prison communications officer tells us a nationwide search is underway now for a new leader. While the search is underway, Associate Warden Bob Paul will serve as interim warden. Paul has worked at the prison for 12 years.
The prison warden is responsible for 200 female inmates and 92 staff members.
Bob, we're 4 days into October, but let's fall back into September for a quick little recap.
Yeah, it's just amazing because when you think back, we had a very hot beginning to September, yes. And, you know, had all the fires, had all the smoke and all that. And then we had 1 week where it was really cool. Well, let me show you how that all averages out. We actually wound up with our average high temperature of 71.7 degrees, which was actually a little bit below normal. It turned out to be the 29th coldest September on record here in Billings. The average low temperature was 48.6, which is actually a little bit higher than normal. The average wind speed also a little bit higher than normal. But here was the big winner, the rainfall. That 1 week we had 2.74 inches of rain. Made it the 6th wettest September on record. It was about 1.5 inches, almost 1.5 inches ahead of normal. That's why we're looking so good as far as precipitation totals for the year. Our forecast does have some rain in it tonight, and we'll chat more about that coming up in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Well, although the recent rain and snow has marked our weathercasts recently, we have not forgotten the wildfires that ravaged our state this past summer.
And thanks to your incredible outpour of generosity, more than $316,000 have been donated to Montana communities throughout this campaign. And grant applications will soon be available so communities can apply to receive money to help rebuild.
And by the way, all of your donations will stay in Montana to help Montanans.
Still to come on tonight's 10 o'clock news, state officials are trying to cut budget cuts from the state's future.
Plus, the snow up at Big Sky. Well, it might soon come from a much different source. We'll check it out.
And later in sports, is Jets rookie Dylan Donahue done for the season with an injury? Scott fills us in.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Cohn and Jeanelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.